My name is David Guas. I'm the chef owner of Bayou Bakery in Arlington, Virginia. And today on Do Food, we're talking about my Easter ham, my fete ham. Now I've got a bone-in ham here, and it's fully cooked, country ham style. So leave the cooking and the fuss behind and just focus on the final flavor of your beautiful glaze. So once we have, a good 20 or so slits, the more the merrier, we can actually take our whole allspice and just start to find the slits and put them in there. Now this is really just going to put off that beautiful fragrance and aromatics when the ham goes into the oven. So we often use a sweetener in Louisiana and in the South, whether it's sorghum, but in our case from Louisiana, it's Steen's cane syrup. It gives a beautiful color to the finished ham. We also balance it with some local honey as well. The honey itself, for me, is a matter of preference. You want to sort of have something that's full flavored, but not overly bitter. You have a lot of different honeys out there, buckwheat honeys. Here in this recipe, we use a wildflower honey, which I prefer. But we're going to start by making our glaze. We're going to add our spices to the bowl itself. We've got a little bit of kosher salt, some cayenne for that heat. It's subtle, it's not really up front, but it lingers, and it's got a beautiful round heat. It's essential when it comes to Louisiana cooking. A little bit of cracked black pepper and also some ground allspice as well. So now for the sweetener, one of the sweeteners, we're going to use some of this beautiful honey. About 3/4 of a cup or so. Now again, this is going to really lend to that glaze consistency. It's really going to coat and just enrobe this beautiful ham. Now the slits not only allow a little cavity for the allspice, but it's going to allow this glaze to seep in and really sort of permeate and penetrate the inside of the ham itself. Now for our acid and a little bit of that sort of, horseradish, mustardy kind of flavor. In the South and Louisiana specifically, we use Creole mustard. Not only is it stone ground or whole grain, but it's also been ground slightly to give it sort of this creaminess. So we're going to add some of that Steen's. Again, this is going to lend a very different sweetness than that local that honey. It's the syrup of choice in the South. For me in Louisiana specifically, this is something that we used to use on our biscuits, on our pancakes. It's any Louisianian's maple syrup. If you don't have Steen's, Lyle's golden syrup works well. We're going to add a little bit of moisture to this too by actually putting one unique ingredient. We cook a lot with beer and wine. This Abita Turbo Dog has got a great sort of rich, dark sweetness to it. It's sort of equivalent to a Guinness, if you will. It's a stouty beer. It's really rich and it's got a lot of flavor. And it's going to help thin out this glaze a little bit. Could be room temperature, it could be cold, doesn't matter. And this is going to allow us to base this a little bit better. And it's going to, again, bring that sort of rich darkness and depth to the final glaze. And you're just going to go really heavy on this glaze. And keep in mind, you're going to also reserve a lot of this glaze. That's why we have so much through the cooking process. We're going to continue to sort of baby this ham throughout. And that's just going to ensure moisture and that we don't burn it up in the oven, because we are dealing with a lot of sweetness. So at this point, we're just going to transfer this ham over to our roasting pan. Our oven's ripping behind me at 325, and we're going to reserve all this extra glaze for every 30 minutes or so to give it a nice new coat. So you can see what all these ingredients do to this ham: the richness, the depth, that Turbo Dog, that rich, deep beer, the beautiful earthiness of the cane syrup, that wonderful sheen that the honey's brought to it, and you can see the fleck of the whole grain mustard. So we're going to go ahead and get our oven up. And we're going to want to add a little bit of water to our roasting pan. That's going to keep it from burning while all of the fat and some of the glaze renders off. If we were allowed it to go into a dry pan, you're going to start to smell the candy and the burning of the glaze itself. And what that does is it stays inside the oven with the fan, and it can actually taint the full flavor and the finished product. So at this point, it's about a waiting game. We've got our glaze reserved, so we're going to set the timer for 30 minutes and begin to do our basting. We're going to do a quick basting inside the oven. Just roll your ham out. You can see how it's really absorbed that first initial glaze. So it's definitely screaming to be slathered up again. This is the crucial part, and that's why we do it every 30 minutes. You know, hams were so important in the holidays, and it really was about the rotation of harvest. You know, these pigs were brought to slaughter in the wintertime and hung up for cure, and that's really why the hams were ready to consume in the springtime. I think that's the main reason why this has become a staple for Easter dinners, because of the rotation of harvest. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. The ham is finished, it's out of the oven. We've allowed it to rest for about 20 to 30 minutes, and that's really just to lock in those juices. It's just the golden rule of roasting meats. At this point, we're going to take this beautiful ham. I mean, look what it's done. You see, everything's just gone inside. It's candied itself. It's got a gorgeous mahogany color, and that really is about the cane syrup and the honey glaze. And again, you can still see all the little grains of mustards that have been trapped inside of there. So we're going to go ahead and transfer it to our carving board. And you can also see that the water that we've put in that roasting pan is still there, and that's also a good sign that we kept up the moisture there, and we haven't allowed it to scorch at the bottom of the pan. So we're going to start to carve this ham. Now, in my house, my grandmother's house, my granny, she would have a good old electric blade. We've got a beautiful ham. We're just going to stab it here. We're going to go against with the grain. And it's just more fun that way. If you don't have one of these bad boys, obviously a sharp carving blade works. Just feel your way through the ham. This is a lot of fun. You see it's still got the moisture. Even using a fully cooked ham, it doesn't look bone dry. It looks delicious and moist. Now we would serve this again with sort of a nice spread of condiments from mayonnaise to different mustards. You know, go back to the Creole mustard, use your yellow mustard, use your Dijon mustards, add a little bit of honey to the mustard, you know, whatever array of condiments you'd like. And just some good soft bread, a nice yeast roll. Parker House rolls work well. You can even sort of transfer part of the ham back over to the serving platter and cut on the table itself once we've gotten through it. So we're all dressed up with our Bayou Fete Easter ham. This is a Louisiana version, obviously, and I know that this would make my granny proud. I'm David Guas, this is Dude Food. Don't forget to subscribe.
Why settle for a regular grilled cheese sandwich when you can make it into a cake? Find out how right here. Things don't just get fishy, they get downright weird as 5 Second Films takes on rotten shark meat with a Brinavine chaser. In case you haven't heard enough of Beyoncé lately, now one restaurant wants to serve her as a sandwich. With this chili, John Stage of Dinosaur Barbecue gives you a little taste of Texas that doesn't involve guns or the electric chair. Subscribe for more free tasted treats.